So a little backstory is required for this video for it to make sense to a bunch of you guys. So let's journey back to 2000. LEGO is on the verge of bankruptcy. Star Wars helped pull them out of it a bit, but after there was no new movie till 2002, the licensing cost was kind of killing LEGO. And LEGO, yes, the biggest toy company in the world, LEGO, was struggling hard for money and they needed something fast. Enter a guy called Christian Faber with the idea for a line that was kind of something different that the toy market hadn't really seen before, especially from a company such as LEGO, with a story so involved and rich that it kept the line going even after its cancellation in 2010. Bionicle came in and for the next few years topped the charts for best-selling toys, saving LEGO from bankruptcy and firing the company into what it is today, along with the help of Star Wars and nowadays Ninjago, which to a lot of people, they see it as modern, the equivalent of modern Bionicle, quote unquote, because it's the same sort of formula that they use. Bionicle was my jam, and if it were still going, I'd probably have more Bionicle sets than I would Transformers. It means a lot to me as it was my whole childhood. It helped me get through many rough times and changes in my life, and Bionicle has always been there and continues to be there for me with a lot of new stories, games, like those really awesome AAA looking games that are going to be coming out. I cannot wait for those to be released. But what the hell does this have to do with today's subject? Well, these remind me of Bionicle. Bionicle was a line of buildable action figures that you could, well, build. Some could transform, or you could take them apart and make your own models and combine them. Guess what else does that? Weaponizers. I'm grouping all three of the parts former lads into the weaponizers category because it just makes it easier for me, but weaponizers, modulators, and fossilizers are the actual terms. So I like this idea. This toy line has been super fun for me, but I could never really put my finger on why that was until I got Slammer. And for those of you wondering where this came from, well, Slammer is starting to trickle out at retail, but I pre-ordered this from a local shop called TF Toys, not sponsored. Slammer here looks really neat. The colors I thought would be weird in person, but the gray on dark gray and white actually work really well together, especially with the black as an accent. The white they use is a bit different than Six Guns, but I'm not sure how well it matches to Metroplex because I'm not paying that much for a Titan class Metroplex. The head is a very tank former head. Like, I've seen a lot of people say that they want to get this just to be an auto trooper in their collection, like buy a few, army build it and stuff. And I can totally see that. Yeah, I can see a lot of people custom painting this to be so many different things, and I can't wait to see what those look like. The one thing that bugs me about the robot mode, other than the joints, which I will get to, is the cannon. It either goes on the hand or on his back like Brawl, but like I wish it could peg into the back and hide away, because there are times where I want to display this thing without the cannon, and you just can't. It has to be somewhere on the figure visible, or you have to take it off and potentially lose it, because I'm prone to losing things. The joints out of the box were super loose, and some still are. The arms were fine, but the lower body was a mess. The knees were loose, the torso hinge was loose, the thighs were loose, the waist was loose. I fixed all but the waist because I forgot to when I was repairing it. But to my delight, the knees and torso joints were on screws. Yeah, screws. Long time no see, eh? So tightening them was a really simple fix, and that was a really nice, refreshing change of pace. Back to what things used to be. You do the loose joint, tighten a screw, good to go. Another issue I have with this toy is the lack of heels. Otherwise, I have no other real problems with the way that this guy turned out. It's personally, although I've heard some other valid criticisms that don't bother me, I really like it. You can definitely tell this is a mix of a couple different weaponizers. The ones I can think of, or I could see a little bit, are Airwave and Ironworks. But I don't really care about that because it's a really fun figure. The plastic does feel really nice too in hand, and handling the toy once the joints are fixed is really nice and pleasant. But why the big dumbass Bionicle speech at the beginning? Well, look at this. I saw this all over Twitter and it made me super impatient for this figure. Like, I'm not a horribly impatient person when it comes to toys because it's not a necessity. If something comes out later or gets delayed, I can wait most of the time unless you're FedEx and you take my package and demand I pay you for it. But once I saw that, I was so excited for this toy, and it made me realize why I like the figures so much. It's their connection to Bionicle in my mind, and what got me into collecting in the first place, because I was a huge Bionicle collector as a kid before Transformers back in 2007 when the first film came out. And those few reasons are why Slammer is my favorite one of the weaponizers. Even if he doesn't even do the weaponizing thing correctly, with missing pegs that make like the taller shoes thing, or strange ways to combine it with other toys that make the parts not actually look like weapons when they're on other toys. It's yeah, objectively though, it's a good figure but a poor weaponizer, because the weapons it creates kind of look goofy. Like Cog and Six Gun have limbs that look like weapons, but this guy doesn't, so it just looks like a robot in bits glued to another robot. It just doesn't really work that well. Like, there are some cool things you can make, like the chainsaw I put here on Sound Blaster, but eh. In the end, the bot mode's pretty cool. The look and feel is pretty much on point for something that I'd want from this toy, and once those tolerances are fixed, it's a very fun experience. And yeah, I unfortunately have heard that there are more reports of those same loose joints on other people's figures, so it looks like it's going to be a common thing. Articulation is pretty good for a figure like this. The ankle pivots are weird, and he lacks heels, so he's a bit of a pain to stand sometimes. You can sort of fake an ab crunch with that torso joint, which is really cool. I do wish the head plate tabbed in somehow, because moving the head starts transforming it, and that can be a little annoying. Speaking of transforming it, transformation is like all weaponizers. You rip him to bits and put him back together. And the way everything fits in on this guy, it feels like every part has a place to go, and it's really satisfying to put together. Reminds me a lot of Airwave, because I felt Airwave was really satisfying to transform. Tank mode though is very nice looking, definitely better than any of the other weird weaponizer alt modes to me anyways, minus the fossilizers. I think they're really cool. The tank looks cohesive and seamless for the most part. The like seemingly deceiving thing on the front that's not a combiner peg but looks like a combiner peg does break up the tank sculpt a bit. And for me, it's the first thing that I see when I look at the tank, so it does get distracting. Oh, and he can poof, so there's that. The turret doesn't rotate, kinda. You can fake it with the arms, but like, it's not a true cannon rotation like most other deluxe tanks out there. But then again, we also have Voyager Studio Series Brawl, who can't do anything with his tank barrel, so it's not a huge knock towards this figure. It's essentially a brick. Like, even the wheels underneath are terrible at being wheels, but it's a nice brick. I do like it a lot, and it's super fun. It's a super fun figure once you fix those joints, that is. And going back to my bias and its connection to Bionicle, however unintentional that probably is, it's too apparent for me to not ignore and make me like this figure much more, to the point of me keeping it downstairs with the rest of my Bionicles. A, because I'm down there most of the time anyways, that's where I edit these videos, and B, so I can put him next to Onua Nuva. But as a Transformer, I definitely say pick this up, because it's really good. Like, it's a really nice figure. It's not perfect by any means, but it's really fun if you're a Transformers fan and you're into the whole partsformery gimmick that these toys have. I know some people still aren't, because whatever. But if you're into that, or you just want a Tankformer that looks cool in both modes, then definitely pick this guy up. And if you're, I mean, honestly, if you're a Bionicle fan, I still think you should pick this up too. It's just cool to have. But that's been my look at Transformers Kingdom Deluxe Class Slammer. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.